Heavy rainfall continues in southern China, with rivers and reservoirs in the Pearl River Basin rising sharply. Many provinces, such as Guangdong, Guangxi, Jiangxi, Fujian, and Hunan, have been hit by floods and mudslides, and the unannounced release of many reservoirs has led to unprecedented floods and heavy losses to local agriculture and people's property. According to official figures from the Chinese Communist Party, as of June 21st, nearly 500,000 people have been affected in Guangdong alone. Over 200,000 people have been moved in emergencies. 1,729 houses have collapsed, and economic losses have reached 1.756 billion RMB. By June 23rd, a large area of Yingde City in Guangdong had been submerged in floodwater for 3 consecutive days, with some places reaching the 3rd floor and the water level reaching about 5.5 meters. The floods left the town without drinking water, electricity, and food supply. The streets are full of debris washed away by the floods. Since the local government did not have any rescue measures, residents had to help themselves. The old man in this picture climbed to the roof of his house by himself and waited for help. According to the local residents, the big flood in Bei River and Yingde was mainly caused by the opening of the floodgates of many reservoirs in the upstream. The residents also said that if Yingde also opened its floodgates, Guangzhou would not be able to withstand it, so Yingde became the one to be flooded. China's Ministry of Water Resources reports that due to the recent heavy rainfall, the corresponding flow of water of the second flood in the Bei River this year reaches 20,000 cubic meters per second. It will develop into a massive flood. The water level in the Bei River Basin continues to rise. A once-in-a-100-years flood had occurred at Zhen River in the Shaoguan territory and Lian River in the Qingyuan territory, which are tributaries of the Bei River. This means the middle and lower reaches of the Bei River will also be a flood of the century. Shaoguan City had a flood of 56.6 meters in the afternoon of June 21st, which was a once-in-50-year flood. Shaoguan City opened its reservoir gates in advance for fear that flood would cause a collapse of the embankment. However, this resulted in a man-made flood in the downstream cities of Yingde and Qingyuan. The people of Shaoguan have taken their cars to the overpass in order to prevent them from being flooded. The online video shows that the overpass is full of vehicles. This time, the floodwater were released without issuing prior notice to the downstream Yingde and Qingyuan City, and the officials also did not have a viable emergency rescue plan. In less than half an hour, the floodwater reached Yingde City and soon flooded the roofs of the 1st floor. According to local people, most of the people living in these towns and villages are young children and elderlies. The young adults have gone out to work. The flooded places have been without drinking water and electricity and low on food. On June 22nd, the flood in Yingde became a hot search topic on Chinese social media, Weibo. The photos with a bird's-eye view of Yingde were shared by netizens, and the differences of before and after the flood was really shocking. A woman shared a photo taken on the high-speed rail passing Yingde. The flood reaches the trees. Only the top of the trees are left exposed outside. At first she thought it was grass. Many houses have been flooded with only the roof left, with some apartments even flooded to the 4th floor. Some Chinese netizens disclosed on Twitter that it is now difficult to find flood disaster videos in many cities. First, the government has begun to regulate the content, and the trending searches have been taken down. Second, the local water and electricity have been cut off, and the news could not come out. On the 22nd, officials said that there was a flood peak of about 36.1 meters at Yingde Station, the mainstream of the Bei River, exceeding the warning water level by 10.1 meters, exceeding the highest water level measured in history since 1915. At 10 p.m. on June 22nd, a peak water level of about 16 meters appeared in Fengcheng Street, Qingyuan City, at the mainstream of Beijiang River, exceeding the warning level by 4 meters. However, the official media did not mention that this was related to the upstream flood discharge. On June 22nd, a video was uploaded on the internet showing that a record flood broke out in Qingyuan, Guangdong due to the heavy rainfall recently, plus the full release of a number of reservoirs in Shaoguan. On June 22nd, a video was posted on the internet showing that a mountainous mudslide occurred near Longsheng County, Guilin, Guangxi, due to heavy rainfall. The mudslide moved slowly but was so powerful that many houses were washed away, and people at the scene shouted, "Go quickly!"
这个这样忙啊，多少大钱啊？他们这个呢？下面开的喽，把它引在底下哦。 开哟！开哟！
On June 20th, the strongest rainstorm in the history of Hechu, Guangxi, hit the city. Luocheng and Nandan were severely affected. The streets turned into rivers, and countless vehicles were submerged in water. On June 22nd, a video uploaded on internet showed that the 11-hole gate of the Centianhe Reservoir in Jiangxi County, Hunan Province, was fully opened to release the flood. Many downstream towns were flooded, and residents' furniture and supermarket goods were washed away by the flood. A house by the river was seen collapsing. The collapsed house struck multiple houses in the torrent. On June 19th, the house in Wujiawan, Huahuai City, Hunan Province, was washed away and flooded twice within a month.
不是头的。哎呦天啊！弄头头的，弄去吧，弄去吧！天啊！我还谁啊？我天啊！哎呦！啊！我天啊！跑都不带了吧？不带了吧？我天啊！这弄去吧？妈接的了。哟，我还说没怀疑。
According to CCP official media reports, from June 19th to June 20th, there were heavy rainstorms in 7 counties in Jiangxi province, 20 counties, and heavy rains in 43 counties. According to statistics, from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. on June 20th, Jiangxi provincial level issued a total of 8 warnings, one of which was a red warning for heavy rain. This is the first red warning for heavy rain issued by the Jiangxi Provincial Meteorological Observatory this year. At 11 a.m. on the 20th, the Le'an River in Wuhan, Jiangxi, already had a flood peak pass through. The flood peak water level reached about 62 meters during the crossing, which was about 4 meters above the warning water level. Continued heavy rainfall has flooded houses, farmland, and roads in many towns and villages in Wuyuan County. In order to prevent the bridge from being washed away by the flood, people drove large trucks full of goods onto the bridge to hold it down. On June 20th, the CCP authorities suddenly released flood waters in the upstream Qiyi Reservoir and Xiakou Reservoir without warning, causing flooding in the downstream Shangrao city, and many townships were completely flooded. Because the villagers were not informed in advance and had no time to prepare to evacuate, they suffered heavy property losses. According to the news, water and electricity were cut off in the affected areas. People were short of food, and their phones were out of power, making it impossible to call for help. On June 21st, a video uploaded on the internet showed that the embankment in Jingde Town, Jiangxi Province, suddenly collapsed, and the water flooded to the second floor in an instant. People rushed upstairs to escape. On June 22nd, a video uploaded on the internet showed that the gate of the Yushan Reservoir in Jiangxi was opened to release the flood, and the child was trapped by the flood. His father moved aboard to save him. We don't know how they ended up. We can only pray that they were all rescued. At 10 p.m. on June 22nd, the newly built bridge in Hanjiadu, Leping City, Jiangxi Province, was washed down by flood. Fortunately, those who were patrolling the bridge jumped in time, and there were no casualties. While the floods were raging in the south, there were persistent high temperatures in Huanghuai and other places in North China. On the 20th, the surface temperature in parts of Shanxi, Hunan, Gansu, Anhui, Ningxia, Shanxi, Hebei, Tianjin, Shandong, and other places exceeded 60 degrees Celsius, and the hot ground was like teppanyaki. According to the Mainland Meteorological Department, the high-temperature weather will continue until the 26th. Temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius has occurred in many places in Hunan Province, and many meteorological stations have recorded surface temperatures that exceeded the historical extreme of June, reaching a maximum of 74.1 degrees Celsius. Online videos show that Xuchang, Luohe, Zhoukou, and other places in Henan, many cement pavements were so hot that they burst directly. Video showed that a ceiling fan installed in a resident's home in Henan was curled due to the high temperature of the roof. A persistent drought has prevented crops from being sown, sparking fears of a food crisis.